Hi, welcome back. We have some tips and tricks for a successful IEP meeting. And I'm Sandra Alexander. In case you don't remember me, I'm a speech therapist who has participated from the perspective of an IEP team member as an educator or speech therapist, but also as a parent as well. Let's dive in and figure out how this can work best for everyone concerned. So managing your emotions. When you go to an IEP meeting, especially your first one, commonly you feel anxious, you can feel overwhelmed, you might feel intimidated because you're at a table. Here's what it's like. You're sitting at a table mostly, and there should be at least 4 other people there, and then there's you. And they're all educators, and they all know each other, and they know your kid, but you're the one who knows your child best. Please keep that in mind. But still, these are people who know the education system and may have a higher level of educational attainment than you, or may not. But don't let any of that intimidate you. We're all working together for your child, okay? So it's natural to feel like that. Just these are things you can do. You can bring a friend with you. Just let the IEP team leader know that you're bringing a friend, okay? That if that helps you feel better, that person can even take notes, okay? Remember, you are an integral part of the team. Without you, nothing's going to happen, okay? And try to be informed and prepared when you come. That'll help reduce your stress, okay? Just don't surprise the team with somebody if they didn't know they were coming. So preparing for the meeting can also help reduce the anxiety. You can bring an advocate, a family friend that we already talked about, but if you prepare for the meeting, you should feel less anxious. So how you can do that is ask for documents ahead of time in advance so that you can read them and ask some questions. You can write a list of questions or your concerns, bring them in so you won't forget, and then you'll say them. For example, one mother wrote, she shared this during a meeting, that her daughter Fiona was energetic, and when she's interested in something, she can stick to it. And she's funny, and she loves praise when she's comfortable with people, but she has a hard time waiting and cries when she doesn't get her way. So she had an idea that she wanted to add a goal about waiting to her IEP. And that was added in from the mom. So you also can ask during the meeting, have your questions prepared. You can ask, how can you communicate well with the teacher? What is the best way for you to do that? If you see that your child's not making progress, how can the teacher communicate most effectively with you? When will they be available? What will the school do if your child isn't progressing? How will they handle it? And you can create a binder that has all of the information you need about the meeting with you so that you're prepared, okay? Now, don't forget, ask questions, okay? And if you don't understand, or if English isn't your first language, request a translator. The school has to provide it at no cost to you, okay? In the meeting, there is no such thing as a stupid question. If you don't know, please ask. That way you'll be on the same, everybody needs to be on the same team, okay? Don't be intimidated, ask. Ask for clarification. If it doesn't make sense or you don't agree, talk about it calmly, of course, but please bring it up. If you get emotional during a meeting because some information's hard to hear, you can ask for a little break. You can ask to use the restroom just to get a moment to collect yourself. If you don't think that you're being listened to, you can ask for a follow-up meeting and try again, or bring somebody with you who's knowledgeable about the meeting. You can bring an advocate with you if you feel you need it. Because federal law, IDEA, mandates that the IEP needs to be presented in a way that you understand. So they have to provide a translator and they have to listen to you, okay? You're part of the team, just talk to the leader. And if you need a translator, get a translator. If you need extra help in any way, please ask. Keep in mind, it's okay not to agree, and you don't have to sign the document. It's a draft. If you need more time, don't sign it, okay? be comfortable raising your concerns with what's being presented, because you're your child's most important advocate. They're not going to love your child more than you do. Well, most of the time, unless your child's having a real bad day or something. Little joke there. So, so if you disagree, it's okay, but try not to be too militant about it so that they can hear you and work with you. So it's how you disagree that's going to help, okay? An example is an IEP team member presented to Mr. and Mrs. Bronco that they wanted to reduce Sally's speech therapy from 3 sessions a week to 2. And Mrs. Branco asked the team to stop and give a rationale why they're doing that. And they said, oh, she's doing really well. She doesn't basically need 3. But she was still concerned. And she said, is there anything else we could do other than having that session reduced, or instead of, in place of that? And they decided to put her in a social skills group, put Sally in the social skills group. And they put that in the IEP, and she ended up with 2 sessions and that. So everyone agreed to that. So remember that the IEP, though, is a draft until it is signed. You can expect the team leader to be either changing it during the meeting, and that could be just getting your address correct or putting down a change in phone number, or it could be changing where something's happening, the frequency of it's happening. So try to be open to all the discussion. All the members should be open. So keep in mind, as much as possible, the school is not your enemy, even though it can feel like that, okay? But they are there to help you. So the school is not your enemy. I'm going to back up a minute here. Let me go here a minute. Okay, let's talk about what appropriate means. Federal law from IDEA requires your child's school to provide an appropriate education, and that's kind of a catch-all phrase. It's not all simple when it comes to IEPs. All parents want what's best for their children, okay? But under federal law, the schools have to provide appropriate education, not the best necessarily, but they're going to go with most appropriate, okay? As a parent, that's hard to swallow. So if you want something more, you may actually have to pay for something more because funds are limited, because it's public and they have to serve a lot of children. So there are constraints on the school. Please keep that in mind. It's difficult, but keep that in mind. Appropriate can be, there's a saying that the school's providing Chevy level of education instead of a Cadillac, but you get the point. If you want more and they can't do it, but they're doing, let's say, the minimal, but you want more, you may have to pay for it or find a way to get it in another way. And one more thing, remember, you don't have to sign the IEP at the end of the meeting because once you sign it, it becomes legally binding. If you agree with all that's presented, you still don't have to sign it. You can take it home and read it again and sleep on it. Sometimes it's hard to find what's not in the IEP. So have somebody else look at it. Make sure that it addresses everything that's important to you and your child. You are the most important advocate for your child. So work with the school as much as you can. And this can work. Just take a deep breath and we'll do it one step at a time. Thanks once again for attending this IEP meeting. Oh, almost forgot helpful tips for the meeting because they throw out acronyms. I almost forgot. So let's find out what these things mean because you might hear these terms bandied about, okay? Sometimes as professionals, we forget and start throwing out terms and you're like, what? So if you don't understand something, ask. But FAPE is free appropriate public education. BIP is the behavior intervention plan. And remember with FAPE that you shouldn't have to pay for anything. An IEP is public supervised by public school education, special ed, related services. That's the plan. The BIP is the behavior intervention plan. It's written, it outlines strategies and supports to reduce problematic behaviors. ESY or SE is extended school year. Sometimes after school, the end of the school year, you can continue on with some classes, and that's in the IEP for students who are at risk for regressing or losing skills they learned during the school year. And then there's another one called the BPIS, Positive Behavior Intervention Supports. And these are support strategies to address problematic behaviors that are interfering with learning through non-punitive measures. And then there's the PLAFIP, which is fun to say, present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. And that's a key part of the IEP, as it describes in detail how the student is functioning in all areas of strengths and weaknesses. If you need to take this in with you, have it next to you. If they say something and you didn't quite understand, please ask. And now that is the end of this presentation on how to survive, well, more than survive, thrive in an IEP meeting and do the best for your child. Thanks again for attending the MyHana webinar. I'm Sandra Alexander, speech therapist and mom of David who has autism. Take care.